Hello, I'm Marina Johnson, and this is TABLEWORK, a TAPS podcast series where we interview the artists and theater makers behind our productions on what it takes to get their productions from the page to the stage. This episode features TAPS undergrad Sid Zhang and her piece Box of Sand, which is a TAPS developmental stage performance in collaboration with TheaterLab. Join us as we learn more about Box of Sand. Hi, Sid. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me here. I'm so excited. This is my first ever podcast experience.
Amazing. I'm glad it's here with TAPS TABLEWORK.
Yeah.
Um, before we get started, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Sid. Before I come up with a better name, I'm Sid. And I'm a junior undergrad here at TAPS. And I'm the director of Box of Sand, which goes up on week 5 this quarter.
Amazing. And week 5 is May. I want to say it's the 2nd through the 4th.
Yes, the performances are 2nd through the 4th, 3 nights.
Wonderful. Well, and so I've been excited about Box of Sand because as I think of objects that I'm interested in, boxes of sand are some of those
Oh
objects.
my
Like,
gosh.
that
Yes.
sounds so fun. But you advertised the piece as a devised physical theater slash dance project. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's devised, meaning it's all about collaboration. I had no, I had some initial concepts when I proposed this project, but most of things are built from scratch, and there's no script. And it's all about us, me working with a cast and all the designers, and we're supporting each other, like co-creating this world together. And of course, I'm like, this is highly collaborative, both like in and outside the cast, this ensemble of 7 people, awesome, incredible collaborators. And the designers, there are also like faculty mentors and all different voices. I'm like, they are chiming in, I'm learning from. Um, I have Amara Tabor Smith as my faculty mentor on this project. She's been super helpful in this process, coming to rehearsals, giving me feedback. I've been talking to my mentor Alita. I've been talking to people like Matt Chapman, guest lecturers, Joanna from last quarter, and all the friends who are just all contributing to this project together. So yeah, it's a wonderful team. Everyone, like, whether they're committed to I'm working on this project or not, are just building this world together. So as the director, I'll provide some kind of framework, but it really it's the ensemble that drives along like this show, and
Yeah,
building all the material we're using, um, that you're going to see in the final performance.
that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's also physical theater. It's visually oriented, mostly nonverbal. I'm a little scared by words being spoken, so I'll just keep them all like movement vocabulary. And it ranges from like stylized dance to behavior, pedestrian behavior. And yeah, that's everything I'm interested in.
Yes. Well, and I love like performance spaces that are so collaborative because as you're saying, you are taking input from so many different people and you have a lot of people who are invested in this project. And it sounds like you as a leader have really gotten people on board with this. So I just want to shout out to your leadership for getting people to really commit and to collaborate in this way because it's not easy to
Yeah.
collaborate in these ways, but I think it makes it so
Mhm.
meaningful to really have these
Yes.
people you trust and respect and can work together in this way.
Definitely. Thank you. I'm really enjoying this process, and I feel very blessed that we're having this wonderful team working together.
Yeah. Well, so you've talked about using dance vocabulary, and so I know that you're creating things in the room. Are there particular like plots or ideas that you've decided to explore in advance? And where does the title come from? Does it come from any of those ideas?
Oh yeah. So there isn't much of a linear narrative. I mean, up until this point, this podcast being recorded Friday, week 1, April 5. Um, there isn't really a linear narrative being built. But I think I'm very interested in how non-linear narrative, especially with the vocabulary of physical poetry, kind of like can manifest itself in the theater. So what I'm most interested, I guess, is to create the time and space for things to happen among the cast. And yeah, so I see it kind of as a sandbox for my people to play and create in. I'm interested in, well, I have this nerdy obsession with like grand concepts such as space and time. And like I think Box of Sand mostly comes from my like thinking over those ideas, and both box and sand are imagery that have those implications. So of course I'm thinking first of the theater as a box, as an enclosed space, and how does the stories like how do stories unfold in this enclosed room, and how does the box itself unfold, on a physical level or metaphorical level. And then there's another part of it, the initial image, the very first image I had while like conceptualizing the show was the hourglass. So that's where the sand comes from. And it's of course at first thought of as a visual like spectacle, which I will not elaborate on because it's part of the show. But just kind of thinking of sand as part of this tool, like this metaphor for time, and also how the granules of sand are actually like carved out by the time passing. So yeah, it's just like things I find very interesting, and the cast is like brought into the space to play with those objects, and we're figuring things out along the way.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, talking about time and space because, as you pointed out, sand can be something that's used to track time. It's also something that we find naturally in different spaces. And so the idea of an enclosure that is containing something like a box or a theater that's containing something that actually could burst free and that is part of the natural world in different ways, I find really exciting. And you just used so many different words that make me really want to come be in the audience for this piece because the things that you're exploring, I think, are things that I don't know, they make my heart beat a little faster to think like, what does it mean to explore these things with a group? Um,
Yeah.
but you just talked about the cast too, so I want to take it over to casting
Hmm.
because your audition call did this thing that I love, which was it said that you were open to casting, quote, all kinds of actors, dancers, movers, and non-movers, end quote. And I think that's exciting because you have people who might speak a similar vocabulary, but also might not. And so that can present challenges, but also opportunities to build new vocabularies together. So can you talk about what that casting looked like? But also, like, are you creating a new language together? Like, how is this working to have people who might speak more of an acting language, more of a dance-based vocabulary?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it kind of goes back to my own background. I've never been professionally trained by any means as a performer. I started dancing 2 years ago here, um, in my freshman winter when I took Liquid Flow with Alita Hayes. And then I joined her movement band Chocolate Heads. So, and I've been working with her ever since. So that's how I got into theater, basically. And in Chocolate Heads, we do devised contemporary dance, and it's welcoming people from all backgrounds. Anyone can join. There's no gatekeeping to entering the space and co-creating things. So I'm naturally just embracing this idea of making performances that's for everybody by everybody, and that's where I started from, and that's the kind of work that I'm interested in, mostly. And also, I'm personally just less interested to see dancers as super bodies, and more interested in exploring human behavior. So I'm very much open to anyone who wants to join this project and create things. And the casting ended up just being this full spectrum of amazing people. Of course, we have dancers, we have trained dancers, Isabella, Angelina, like amazing contemporary ballet, like contemporary modern trained dancers. We have Tree from a more acrobatic background. We have Alice doing contact improv. We have Cesar from theater. We have Benjamin from contemporary dance. We're in Chocolate Heads together. We have David who did improv and like new to theater in general, but like each and every one of them are incredibly interesting to watch and committed to this project. And yeah, it's really a wonderful experience to have all this kind of different human beings coming into the space, because that's how like it is outside of theater, outside of like, you know, a place where you might have this very much shared vocabulary, shared training. um, so yeah, I think I'm very happy with this process, very diverse vocabulary, but we're in this shared space, and we're finding common grounds. Of course, the challenge is if you're working with a group of dancers trained in the same way, it's easier to, if you give directions, they'll know, okay, this is what you mean and this is where you want me to go. But that also limits, the possibilities kind of. And what's most interesting about this process is that I think we don't really like I didn't really struggle as much as I thought I would in this process of finding a common ground. We basically just used the first 2 weeks of this rehearsal process last quarter, not staging anything. We're building our ensemble, we're knowing each other, creating this community and learning to trust each other and really throw ourselves into this experiment that's like everyone's making input, everyone's creating this all together. So yeah, I think as of now we're like 7 weeks into this process, and we're friends sharing the space, and I think we have a common ground.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so nice to hear, I mean, just about the accessible way that you're creating this piece. If I had had that kind of, if someone talked to me about dance that way many years ago, perhaps I would
Hmm.
still be a dancer.
Oh yeah.
um, but I also love that you're talking about ensemble building and you've really prioritized that. And I think that that leads to products that are more steeped in community and also shared inquiry.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, you've been working together for 7 weeks. Have there been, and I'm sure there actually been many, so maybe you can just pick one, but an exciting moment or discovery that has happened in the rehearsal room? Something that might have surprised you, perhaps?
Oh yeah, I have so many anecdotes. I don't know which ones to share. So my favorite moment is, well, it was definitely like one of my favorite moments being the first day of rehearsal, our full ensemble coming together on a Sunday. And we did an exercise. We introduced ourselves. We did an exercise where I'm creating the space and people go from spectators to performers, and it's just lasted for 40 minutes long. People are just entering the space doing whatever they want to challenge themselves, and it was beyond my expectation in every possible way. And after that exercise, I'm like, here it is, I found my people. And that was such a wonderful experience. Another thing I think is it's really funny because initially when I was building concepts for this project, I had this idea of staging scenes about removing the director. I was trying to make part of the show about like falling into the chaos of removing this figure of the author and making that part of the performance. But it ended up like we removed that part because, of course, as the director, I thought of this thing about removing the director, but it didn't really fit into the play because that's not what the ensemble actually ended up building. So we actually just removed the director's voice in this one, and my this idea, I just kicked myself out of this. And yeah, I think it's manifesting like self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways. I mean, it might be a too big of a word for this, but I think it's very interesting. In that process, we had a wonderful, like such a beautiful monologue from Cesar that unfortunately we got rid of because it's part of the killing the director narrative. But oh, it was so beautiful, and it's my saddest moment that I've had in building the show to just kill this beautiful baby. But we'll save that for better purposes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's so hard to be in a space where, I mean, when we use in performance the expression like "kill your darlings,"
Yeah.
we can't get too precious about ideas and keep them in even when they're not working. So I know how hard that can be. That you're right. Perhaps it will have a different life in a different piece, or come back at a different time between now and week 5. Who knows? Maybe you'll end up
Oh
being
yeah.
surprised. But
Yeah. Everything I say is as of now, Friday, April 5th. Again, yeah,
for
week one.
sure.
So I don't know what's gonna happen in the next 4 weeks.
Right. Well, so we've talked about some of the other creatives in this project, but are you working with any designers? And is there a particular moment of design that you're most interested
Mhm.
in exploring?
Oh, definitely. We have such an amazing design team. I'm like, my favorite thing is to work with them, of course, in my cast. Yeah, so there's a cute little anecdote about this actually. So before I started the rehearsal process for Box of Sand, I was doing set design for a grad rep show, Connor Lifson's Omelas. After that show, we basically like now what I did was reassembling his design team. I am right now directing this show. Connor is being my lighting designer. Aspen Garner, who's a lighting designer for Omelas, now is my technical director, doing such an incredible job. Um, and Sebastian, who was the sound designer for Omelas, now is my composer. So everything comes in full circles. Like we're finding the collaborators we can keep working with, and it's just so wonderful. Um, yeah, and then we have Veronica and Isma and Natalia who are joining from D school. So we're really like bringing in different people that are coming from very different backgrounds. And yeah, it's very like eye-opening experience of working with all those different people. And each of the design departments are actually very collaborative on their own. We have two costume designers. We have three designers in the sound department doing like different things together. And yeah, I'm very, very excited. I think we have an original sound score. I was in one of their jamming sessions in the studio. It was blissful. Yeah, just lovely, creative people. And for my as of my favorite moment, sorry, I digress so much. I just once I start talking about those people, I can't stop. I can't say too much about my favorite moment. As much as I don't believe in spoilers, I don't want to spoil anything, but there will be sand and there will be box. That's all I can say, and they are super exciting.
Perfect. I mean, Sid, it was so good to hear you discuss your designers, and if people could see your face right now, like I can, they would see you beaming as you're discussing these people. And I mean,
Yes.
Omelas was so beautifully designed. I can't wait to see what this design looks like. But I mean, more
Yeah.
than that, I find that creating theater with people whom you feel really bonded to and connected with and share artistic visions and goals with is so important. So kudos to
Yes.
you, and I'm so glad that that's what's happening right now. So I know I can't wait to see this performance, and hopefully others listening are now getting ready to come see it too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sid.
Thank you
And
so
yeah,
much.
looking forward to seeing the play show.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.